The most challenging thing in effective computing is data, because our algorithms work based on AI, and an AI can only be as good as the data provided. In effective computing, we do not have many data sets because they are very difficult to produce. You need to bring a person in a dedicated emotional state and then measure the physiological signals, the video, maybe eye tracking, and then afterwards label all this data and give it a certain emotion, which is again difficult. That's why the number of data is very limited, especially with good labels. And that is the most challenging thing in our research.
Welcome to FNet Silica's We Talk IoT. We'll chat with innovators, experts, and business owners to learn how they are implementing IoT and using data to create new business opportunities. I am your host, Stephanie Ruth Haydock. With the rapid growth of IoT devices around us, imagine if our gadgets could not only process information, but also understand and respond to our emotions. Today's special guest is Nina Holzer, and she is a researcher from the renowned Fraunhofer Institute for Integrated Circuits IIS and the team lead for Multimodal Human Sensing. Together, we will explore the fascinating intersection of human emotions, artificial intelligence, and the future of human-computer interaction. So tune in as we delve deep into the heartbeats of our machine. Nina, it's a great pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good today.
Would you like to get us started by introducing yourself and what you do at the Fraunhofer IIS?
Thanks for inviting me. I'm Nina Holzer, and I'm working at the Fraunhofer IIS and in the field of effective computing. In the past, I studied computer science and started working at Fraunhofer IIS. And since 2 years, I'm heading the group of Multimodal Human Sensing, where we try to encode emotions with technical systems, which is the field of effective computing.
And could you briefly explain what effective computing is? It's spelled with an A, not an E.
Yes.
And why is it important in today's technological landscape?
So in general, effective computing is a combination of the discipline psychology, physiology, and computer science, AI in particular. In this field, we try to capture reactions in physiology and behavior to a certain situation and then draw conclusions through emotions or emotional states.
Okay. How do you capture and interpret such complex things like emotions? I would imagine that's a very subjective thing. Like maybe when you look at my face, you would think I look very happy and relaxed, but maybe I'm a little bit nervous and impressed. How do you teach a machine how to interpret human emotions?
Actually, capturing emotions with technical solutions is very challenging. Emotions themselves show in different levels. So we divide emotions in the following levels. So we have the behavior level that you described. So we have gestures, we have facial expressions. This is what we can easily see also by a human. Then we have a physiological level, which can be a heartbeat or skin conductance, or also like brain waves. You can easily understand when you have a big excitement, your heartbeat will go faster. Yeah. And so different physiological signals corresponds to emotions. Then we have the subjective experience of an emotion. This is how pleasant or unpleasant does the person really feel. And of course, this is difficult to capture with a technical system. But we need this information for our AI training and find the corresponding physiological signals and behavior signals for the emotion that the person is feeling.
That's really interesting. And I think the question that comes to mind next is, what would be some possible applications where you would need this kind of research and the data that you are collecting?
There are different applications for effective computing. One examples are autonomous cars. So autonomous cars will have different information from the environment that might not have the person in the car. So it is very important that the autonomous cars adapt their driving behavior due to the feeling. Let's assume an example in a fog. So the car will have information from the environment, from a LiDAR, from a radar, and knows that even though the passenger in the car can't see anything around due to the fog, the car can overtake another car safe because it has enough environmental information.
I suppose the human emotion would then be kind of closing my eyes and hoping it will work and having a really high heartbeat.
Having a really high heartbeat. Yeah. And you really feel uncomfortable if the car starts to overtake. And so you won't trust your car that it's a good idea to overtake in this situation. So then this autonomous car needs to react on the emotion of the person because this will lead to trust in autonomous vehicles in the future.
Oh, interesting. Okay. It's not that the car will say like, don't be a chicken, I know what I'm doing, trust me, and then hitting the gas pedal.
Could be also an option, but the question is if this is the best idea or a better idea.
Maybe not, maybe not.
To drive slower or to give information, okay, you are safe because I know the following things from our environment and you are safe in my car because of what I know.
Don't worry, little human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know more
I
than
know
you.
what I do.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so it's about building trust in the example for autonomous driving. That's interesting. Okay.
But also building trust in other technical solutions. So if you think of robots or any human-machine interaction, it is always a good idea that the communication partner can respond to your feelings. When we talk to each other, I would say it's a good communication when you respond to how I feel or you think I feel, and I respond back to when you get angry. I will react different from when you look happy. What I am saying, that is what enables effective computing to interaction between human and machines. This can be a robot. There's also a good example that I can give. Let's assume a service robot driving around, bringing things to you. And from the technical point of view, this robot is able to drive very fast to you and then stop right in front of you. Technically, it's possible.
Okay.
But
would you feel good? Threatening. Right?
Yeah. Right. But when you interact with such a robot the first time, the robot should see, okay, Hood is not feeling very well when I drive so fast, so I come closer slowly. But the next time you get more trust in this system and it can tries to get faster and faster to you. So it is again about building trust, getting your reaction, your emotion, and then adapt to this and interact different in the future when you get more trust in the systems.
Very interesting. Are there any other use cases? Like we had automotive, we had service robots. I suppose that they would also make sense in a healthcare or ambient assisted living environment.
Yes, that's also applications wherever we will have robots in the future for assistance with working with elderly people, talking to elderly people. But there's also a very different use case, which is not directly corresponding to this human-machine interaction. For example, market research and neural marketing. So with effective computing, we are able to measure reactions when you interact with a product. So you can directly measure how good your product is and how much the person likes your product or your commercial or a movie.
I think I might have seen something like this at your CeBIT exhibition stand from probably a couple of years ago when there was still a CeBIT. I think you had like a mirror where you could stand in front and then the mirror would tell you, could distinguish back then. I think it must have been seriously at least 10 or 15 years ago. Are you a female? Are you male? How old are you? Are you happy at the moment? So that's basically when I look at a product and then the sensors will be able to tell am I excited by this? Am I completely bored and not interested? And then you have like data like, okay, this target group, which we thought would be thrilled, is actually completely unimpressed, right? Is that something that would describe it?
Right. You're talking about our software library, Shore. This is a completely video-based solution.
Oh, okay.
So this is already 16 years ago. So we are one of the very first players in the effective computing market with this software library. And it further and further developed. We are able to measure emotions in the face based on the facial reactions with this software library that can be licensed. But there are emotions which are not very easy to read from only the face.
Okay.
So that's why we further developed our working environment also to the biosignals and physiological reactions.
And in your experience, what have been the most challenging aspects? Are there any specific emotions that are particularly hard to decode?
Yeah, I would say the most challenging thing in effective computing is data.
Okay.
Because our algorithms work based on AI, and an AI can only be as good as the data you provided. And so when you think of other applications, like a very simple one, decide, do I see a dog or a cat in a picture? You will have thousands and millions of pictures that are easy to get and easy to label. So tell the AI this is a dog or a cat. In effective computing, we do not have many data sets because they are very difficult to produce. You need to bring a person in a dedicated emotional state and then measure the physiological signals, the video, maybe eye tracking, and then afterwards label all this data and give it a certain emotion, which is again difficult. So that's why the number of data is very limited, especially with good labels. And that is the most challenging thing in our area of research.
We will take a short break. Stay with us. We will be hearing from our guests very shortly. This podcast is brought to you by Silica, the engineers of evolution. We help you bring secure, intelligent, and connected products to market. If you want to learn more about us, we have put information and links in this episode's show notes, and you can also connect with us on LinkedIn or avnet-silica.com. That's avnet-silica.com. I would also imagine that there are cultural differences as well. Like maybe, for example, in a Western society, happiness has a different, well, of course, physiologically it might be the same, but from the facial expressions, maybe an Asian, an African, or a South American person might have a different facial expression, right?
Yes, that might be as well. But here you again cross another big problem of our data sets. Because when you think of, normally you need a very balanced data set to get the perfect result and to decode the emotion. So that means balanced data set in this case means that I have the same amount of Black people, of white people, of maybe Asian people, women, men, children, old people. So and now you could imagine how big this data set must be to really have it balanced. So that's also a big challenge.
Having an unbalanced data set would probably lead to biases, right? That the machine or the algorithm would interpret, no, it's completely fine, when the result is based on maybe, I don't know, a white male, but would not consider the fact that someone else has a different reaction to the same setting, right? So how do you do this? Do you ask people to volunteer and come to your laboratory and put lots of sensors on them and then collect data? Or how do you solve this problem?
This is exactly what we do. We
Cool.
have the studies here. We call it our emotion AI box. The people come here. We bring them in a special emotional state. There are different techniques to do this. One technique is to show defined pictures or show defined parts of videos that will bring you to an emotion. There are other ways, but these are two popular ways. And then we put all the electrodes and sensors and cameras to the persons, and then we measure the reactions and collect the data. But still, we cannot balance the data set 100%. And so we are also working in one part of our research on bias research, where we check how we can overcome this problem, at least a bit, to balance the data set. So if we only have one black person, that we try to train better with this person more than with the others. And there are different techniques to do so, but that is one of our research things that we do in affective computing.
And once these applications come to life, are there any ethical considerations that probably pop up then with the power to sense and potentially also, I guess, influence human emotions?
Of course, you have a lot of ethical points that you have to consider. Everyone in the field of affective computing works with high sensitive data. You have biosignals that gives you the possibility to draw conclusions to the health status of a person. And then you record at the same time videos, which means those data are not anonymous anymore.
All right.
This is a big problem. So we at Fraunhofer only store those data internally on our servers. That's one point that we do. But all companies and research institutes have a very big responsibility for this. And for the future, there's from the European Union, the EU AI Act, which regulates what you are allowed to do with AI and what you have to document and how you have to take care of your data. And in this EU AI Act, one part is also the emotion recognition systems. So it will be very restricted about transparency and what you're allowed to do, which is very good. And this gives transparency to the public.
That, I suppose that's the essential and most crucial point for all artificial intelligence applications, that it's always really clear, is the creator of this a human or an artificial intelligence? And transparency, I think, is probably the most important part in adopting and developing this technology further, right?
Yeah, yes, completely right.
So you mentioned other research companies. Are there any academic or industrial collaborations that have been influential in advancing your research?
Yeah, as Fraunhofer Institute, we work on research and industrial projects in different fields of applications. In the beginning, I said we have here with affective computing the combination of psychology, of physiology, and we also cross the border of medicine with our measurement tools. And so there's not one company or one university that is most important for us, but we try to check what partners do we need to solve a certain problem. So we always work together with different companies in automotive or market research to solve the problem, and then also maybe get a psychologist within the projects to complete our know-how to solve the problem, which is always very complex when we talk about emotions.
Is there a public case study you are able to talk about, or are you still in a research phase where you cannot share too much information?
Yeah, at the moment I cannot talk about a certain industry project.
Yeah.
But we did a research project. It was finished a year ago, and there we were researching on cognitive load. And we did a big study with persons, bringing them into cognitive load.
What is a cognitive load? I'm sorry.
We looked at cognitive load on mental load, like when your brain is overloaded from the tasks you are doing.
Okay.
This can be, for example, we did it in 2 steps. In the first step, we had some very challenging mental things to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next step, we had driving situations in our driving simulator that were very challenging to solve because you had to do so many multitasking things. And out of that, we got a data set for this mental cognitive overload, which is public and can be used also by other researchers.
Oh, that'd be interesting. If you share the link with me, I can maybe put it in the show notes for our listeners to, have a look.
I will be happy to share the link.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I suppose that would be also a really interesting use case. For example, if you are looking for employees, let's say it's either truck drivers or policemen or pilots, people in stressful situation who have to react to a lot of influences. I suppose would it be a use case to use this solution to, basically test your possible new employees if they're up to the task?
That would be one thing to test employees, but also in the real application in the end, while driving, you could monitor the person and react to the overload.
Okay.
Or, for example, you could also think of gaming when someone is playing a computer game, and then you can monitor with this system in the end if the person is overloaded and you should make the game easier, or maybe the person gets bored and doesn't have to think too much at the moment, so you can make the game harder. This is also an application for mental load.
Oh, very interesting. I had that experience personally myself when I was playing a video game called The Last of Us, and I thought it was so immersive that I was actually really anxious and scared and hiding behind the couch trying to solve the puzzles because I found it so immersive that I thought I was being the person. I found it was really good, but it was really stressful. I had to take a break and step back and say, I need a glass of water, and then we can continue. Yeah.
So maybe the system would have said, okay, Ruth, I will give you an easier level now, and then we go on.
Yeah, maybe you should dial down the difficulty and turn on the lights in your apartment. Yeah. Yeah, but that would have been very helpful. Where do you see the future of effective computing and IoT heading in the next 5 to 10 years? Are there any breakthroughs on the horizon that I should be looking out for?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to say how it will develop in the next 10 years, but I'm very convinced that effective computing and parts of effective computing will be integrated in many human-machine interaction. It will be running in the background so that you don't feel that effective computing is applied, but you will have a better communication with the system. And I'm very sure that we will have it in autonomous cars and also interaction with robots or any other human-machine interaction.
And that would be also an interesting question to see, has working in this field changed your perspective on the relationship between humans and machines?
Before I started to work intensively in the field of effective computing, I was interested in and curious what robots can do and cannot do. But today, when I got a deep look into it and work with it very close to the newest developments, I get very excited and enthusiastic about what will come in the future. I'm really much looking forward how those algorithms will make our life easier and better in the future.
What would you say is a common myth about human-machine interaction or about effective computing?
When people ask me what I do, especially people who are not very technical enthusiasts, they say, oh, that's very scary what you are doing and what will happen with us.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, this is due to the imagination, and there will be robots who will run around in the world completely autonomous, getting own feelings, own thoughts, and do something what they want to do. And then I always can say, no, robots are only as good as we trained them. They are not able to detect 100% of your feelings or to adapt to 100% of your feelings. They are only as good as we taught them to be. That is a common myth that I often hear from friends who are not from the technical point of view.
Yeah, I imagine. Have you watched the TV show Battlestar Galactica?
No, I don't know it.
It used to run in the 70s. It used to be really, really, really old. But they did a rerun in, I think, 2006 with a new cast and a new story. And I think you should probably find the storyline interesting. Humans developed service robots, which, of course, at one point developed a mind of their own and started to revolt against their makers. And then there was a big war between machines and humans. 50 years after the peace treaty, everything is quiet. They have not been seen for like a couple of 100 years. And then they return. But now they look human. They have evolved. And now you don't know who's a machine and who's a human. It's a really cool TV show if you're interested. So.
Yeah, and in such TV shows and movies, they bring to the mind of the public that something like that could really happen.
Yeah, so that's very counterproductive than what I said. Sorry.
But that it's not counterproductive. It's just it shows why people think that why machines might be able to do it or to have an own mind. But that's something I would always say, no, they are only as good as we trained them to be.
That sounds very comforting. Thank you so much, Nina, for being on the show. It has been terrific to learn about the new possibilities that will be on the horizon. And thank you for giving us an insight on the research you do. It has been really interesting.
Thanks to you so much for having me as a guest.
This was Avnet Silica's We Talk IoT. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating. Talk to you soon.